Well, I better get going. Your show's almost on.
It's officially overtime.
Sounds like a freak of nature to me.
Yeah, can't wait to meet him.
Overtime with Lee Patterson, the only live local radio sports talk show in the Gila Valley.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
And now, here's your host for Overtime, Lee Patterson.
Is it that hard to turn the knobs?
Welcome into Overtime. I am Lee Patterson. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a while since we've been back on, but with the uncertainty of winter sports, we just didn't know when it was going to be back. So now that we feel like it's back, we're going to every Wednesday have Overtime again at 1:30 on the radio, and then this podcast version in the afternoon sometime whenever it uploads. Yeah, so thanks for joining us on the podcast version today. And we start with the 3A girls basketball standings after a week. I mean, really, it's only been a week. The Thatcher girls are tied for first in the 3A South Central with the Florence Gophers. The Lady Gophers are 4-0 this year. The Lady Eagles 2-0 on the season. The Safford Lady Bulldogs are 1-2, followed by Santan Foothills, Coolidge, and Pushridge, who is 0-3. That is the 3A South Central this year. For Thatcher, their 2 wins. They're 2-0 overall. They defeated Gilbert Christian on the road 50-28, and then Pushridge on the road last night 52-22. So a couple of big wins for the Lady Eagles. For the Safford Bulldogs, they are 1-2. They picked up their first win of the year last night on the road at Santan Foothills with a 49-20 win. They dominated that game from tip to final whistle. Their 2 losses came at home to Pima, 57-25, and on the road at Snowflake, 64-34. That is it for 3A. Again, that's the first year for Thatcher in 3A basketball. They're the reigning 2A girls state champions. They will be competitive in the 2A, super competitive in the 2A. They only lost one player from last year's state title game. In the 2A girls basketball, Pima leads the 2A East right ahead of Morenci, followed by St. John's and Round Valley, and Miami has yet to play a game on the girls' side. Pima's 2 wins have come over, as we mentioned, Safford, a big win on the 19th, and they beat Benson on the 22nd, 62-42. They are at Thatcher tomorrow, at St. David on Friday, and then at Miami on the 2nd for the Pima Lady Rough Riders. The Morenci Wildcats, they are 1-0. Their lone game was at Phoenix Country Day on the 23rd. They won 54-39. And Round Valley is scheduled to be in Morenci tonight at 5:30. We'll see if that game happens, because I failed to mention as we came on the air, the St. John's at Pima games tonight have been postponed. And it's not a COVID postponement. It is a weather postponement. St. John's has to use the Salt River Canyon to get down into Pima, and they're worried that at night after the games, going back up the Salt River Canyon, back towards St. John's, that it might be a little too icy and dangerous, so they've postponed that game. And I agree, that's a smart move for them. Those games will now be played I can tell you, they will play those games February 10th. They'll actually kind of have back-to-backs. Pima will be home against St. John's on the 10th and then at St. John's on the 12th. So 2 days in between back-to-backs. That is the 2A girls roundup. The 1A girls, which would be Fort Thomas and Duncan. Fort Thomas and Duncan not in the same league this year, not in the same region this year. I don't know if it's because of COVID or if this is the way they've got it broken up on purpose, but Fort Thomas is in the 1A Northeast with Mogollon, St. Michael, Ray, and Joe City. Fort Thomas sits atop that on the girls' side of basketball. They've defeated Patagonia 75-31 and San Simon 62-18. They were supposed to play Superior last night, but Superior did not play this season. Their athletic director is one of them on the AIA board that voted to not have a season at all, so it doesn't surprise anybody that Superior didn't play. They are at Duncan tonight. Fort Thomas is at 4:30 for the girls tip-off before having a home game on the 29th against Leading Edge Academy out of Gilbert on Friday. Duncan this year is in the 1A Tucson South, which again makes no sense, with St. David, Desert Christian, San Manuel, Patagonia, Immaculate Heart, San Simon, and Valley Union. Duncan girls are 1-2 on the season this year. They defeated San Simon 24-20. They lost to Anthem Prep 35-17, and then lost at Mogollon 51-22. Their game last night against Immaculate Heart was canceled, and they will be hosting Fort Thomas tonight at 4:30. I think that does it for the girls' side of things on basketball. Let's go ahead and click on over to the boys' basketball standings. We'll start at the 1A level. The Fort Thomas Apaches are 1-2 on the season. They started the year with a loss 32-25 at Patagonia. They beat San Simon 62-43 before falling to Miami 75-53. Their games again last night at Superior were canceled. They play Duncan tonight at 6 o'clock. And you can hear that game on KATO 1230 a.m. as well as GilaValleyCentral.net. I'll be there to broadcast that one tonight. It's been a while since I've been to Duncan. I was thinking about it as we scheduled this game, and I think the last time I broadcast a basketball game from Duncan, Kenny Smith was the basketball coach. It was a Thatcher game, and I'm pretty sure Leon Johnson was on that team. And I don't know what year that would be. Hudgens was the head coach at Duncan then? Man, I'm going way back with that one. On the Duncan side of things, the Duncan boys are 2-1 on the season. They beat San Simon 60-26, beat Anthem Prep 59-26, and then lost a shootout at Mogollon on the 22nd, 83-75. What a high-scoring ball game in the 1A. And then last night's game obviously canceled Immaculate Heart. They will host Fort Thomas tonight. They'll have Patagonia on Friday and Tombstone on Saturday. 2A boys includes Pima, Morenci, and Wilcox. Pima is 2-0 on the season, and if you haven't seen Pima, well, I should rephrase that. Unless you're a parent, you haven't seen Pima play this year. If you've not heard about Pima this year, yes, they're that good. One of the best teams in the Valley in a while. They don't have that one dude like they've had in the past. They've got 10 guys that can play, and their second five will be better than anybody else's second five this year. That's how they're going to beat people. That's how they beat people as bad as they have so far on the season. That's an 81-46 win over Globe and an 80-47 win over Benson. And I tell you this, I think Benson's going to win their league. I don't know. Wilcox will give them some grief. Wilcox is pretty good. Wilcox beat Blue Ridge already this year. So Pima will be at Thatcher tomorrow night. We'll also have that game on KATO 1230 a.m. and GilaValleyCentral.net. Then they'll be at St. David and at Miami on February 2nd. Morenci's only got to play one game. We're only a week in, but they only had one game last week. They beat Phoenix Country Day on the road, 52-48. They're scheduled to have Round Valley at home tonight. It doesn't say canceled, so that's a good sign. Since St. John's couldn't get down into Pima, Round Valley plans on getting to Morenci tonight for those games. Morenci will be at St. John's on Friday, and they'll have Sholo at home on Saturday. Pretty decent starting schedule there for the Morenci Wildcats. On the 3A side of things, the 3A South Central is led by Florence, so the Florence boys and girls both are 4-0 this year. Push Ridge is 3-0. Safford sits in the third spot at 1-1. Santan at 2-2. Coolidge at 1-1. And Thatcher sits in the sixth spot at 1-2 in the 3A South Central. Safford got beat at home, or they lost at Snowflake 76-48. Turned it around 4 nights later at Santan Foothills to win 62-55. That was last night. They will have Push Ridge at home on Friday, and I sound like a broken record, but we'll have that game on KATO and GilaValleyCentral.net as well. They are at Thatcher on February 2nd. For Thatcher, they won at Globe to open the season 59-47. They lost at Gilbert Christian 62-50 and at Push Ridge 61-55 last night. They will host Pima on Thursday, as we mentioned. Check out this stretch down the road here for Thatcher boys. It's a tough schedule. It really is, especially for a first-year head coach. So they've got Pima at home, then they go to Coolidge the next day, then they've got Safford at home the second, then check out this week. February 2nd, home against Safford. February 4th at Holbrook. February 5th, the next night at Florence. February 6th, the next night at St. John's. And then the 9th, they have Santan Foothills. 5 games in 7 days for Thatcher. No rest for the weary there if you're the Thatcher Eagles. Now we'll move on over to the soccer side of things. Only 2 soccer teams in the Gila Valley. 4 boys and girls for Thatcher and Safford. So let's take a look at the girls' side first. 3A is the smallest division in soccer. So anybody considered small school is in 3A. Thatcher and Safford are in the 3A East this year with about a dozen other teams. And Safford leads the 3A East with a 1-0 record. They beat Thatcher 2-1 on the girls' side on the 21st, but they will have a full 7 days off before they go to Push Ridge tomorrow to take on the Lions. So that makes Safford's record, or Thatcher's record, 0-1, as they fell to Safford in their only meeting so far. They will have Eastmark at home at 1 o'clock tomorrow as well. On the boys' soccer side of things, the same 2 squads. Again, only 3A is the lowest. In the 3A East, Thatcher defeated Safford 4-0 to get that win. They will have Eastmark at home tomorrow at 3 o'clock. That will be Thatcher. And then the Safford boys are 0-1. Their next game will be at Push Ridge tomorrow at 6 p.m. Now, I was looking at the wrestling home. Maybe that's where I need to be. I was looking at the wrestling. They do not post the scores for the duels this year, or records, or anything on the AZ Preps 365 site. Just the schedules, which is interesting. Safford is in Division 3, Section 4 this year. They don't have any cool names like the other sports, named after rivers and whatnot, or in directions. But the Safford Bulldogs, they wrestled at ALA Queen Creek on the 23rd. I know they won that meet, but there's no score or result mentioned here on the schedule. It's a little disappointing. They will be tomorrow at home against ALA Ironwood at 4 o'clock, and on Saturday they will be at Combs at noon. The rest of the schedule for Safford Wrestling: Poston Butte, Marana, Morenci, Sarita, Marana Mountain View, Walden Grove, and ALA Gilbert North. Only duels this year for wrestling as part of the COVID protocols. And on the Division 4, Section 4, that was where we'll find everybody else in the Valley: Morenci, Pima, and Thatcher. Starting with Pima Wrestling. Again, there's no results here. They were at St. David on the 20th. They hosted Sholo on the 23rd. They are in Wilcox today at 4 o'clock. They will be home against Thatcher on Friday. Then they've got Tombstone, Morenci, Salmonwell, and Benson left on their schedule. For the Thatcher Eagles, they had Salmonwell on the 20th, St. David on the 23rd. They will be against Pima at Pima on Friday. Saturday, they'll be home against Round Valley. Then they've got Globe, Wilcox, St. David, Benson, Morenci, Snowflake, Tombstone, and Higley, a big school to round out the regular season. But that's March 4th. That's 9 days after their final, their previous meet against Tombstone. That is interesting to me. And then Morenci, they defeated Camp Verde 81-0 in their opening meet. And then they had ALA Arizona Lutheran on the 23rd. They are hosting Benson at 4 today. If you have social media, you can see that meet. It's at Benson. There should be a live stream on the Morenci Wrestling Facebook page. I just saw that as I was scrolling through social media. Then they've got Mogollon, Wilcox, St. John's, Pima, Safford, Globe, Thatcher, Yuma Catholic, Santa Cruz, and St. David I'm not so sure Morenci will lose a duel this year. I just don't know that they will. They usually schedule a much, much stronger tournament schedule than what they've got this year because of COVID. So it'll be interesting to see how they turn out at Morenci this year as well. So, and that'll do it for high school wrestling, high school sports. I mean, that's a hard and fast version of what's been going on in the Gila Valley with athletics. As I said, we'll be on the air on KHEO tonight at 6 o'clock from Duncan High School, tomorrow night from Thatcher High School at 7, and Friday night at Safford High School at 7 as well, trying to get to as many games as we can in this COVID season because there's only home fans being allowed, if there's any fans allowed at all. And so we're trying to do our best to bring you all everything we can on the air. Eastern Arizona College set to get underway February 5th, I believe. There it is. February 5th at 5:30 p.m., the Eastern Arizona College men will be in action. That will open up their season on the basketball side of things. We'll have that game on KETO and Gila Valley Central and the EAC live stream feed as well. The women will not start that night. The EAC women will not start until February 9th on the road at Arizona Western. That game on the 5th has been moved to the 19th against Arizona Western as of right now. The volleyball team will be having the Dalton Overstreet Invitational, and it doesn't say it is away. I believe that is in Prescott. They will be playing February 4th, 5th, and 6th in that tournament at Yavapai College to open the season. The first chance to see the EAC women at home will be the 17th against Arizona Western, a 7 p.m. first serve for that one this year. Softball and baseball pretty much going on at the same time because of this crazy year. The EAC women will open on February 2nd at home against Utah State University Eastern. Then they will play at the Great Western Shootout the 5th and 6th of February. And then they'll have Central Arizona on February 20th at home, on the road at Central Arizona for their first, actually that says a non-conference game. So that's just a fill-in game. Baseball won't start until February 27th on the road at Cochise. Their first home series will be March 9th against Glendale. So we'll have lots of sports going on in the Gila Valley. If that is something that you are interested in, there'll be plenty of it to see. I believe the college will be allowing fans this year. There hasn't been an official release for the season yet this year. So we'll see. I just don't know if they're going to have it at all. Have fans at all. I mean, they could have a deal like the high school does. They could have no fans. They could have fans. Masks are obviously going to be required everywhere we go. So, and that's something that hasn't been a hindrance, as much of a hindrance as I thought it was going to be, especially for me broadcasting games through a mask. I haven't noticed a difference. Some of you might say it makes me sound better. That's a joke. But hasn't been that big of a deal. I haven't seen in the 2 games we've been to, I haven't seen them be a huge deal on the floor as well for the officials or the players. So that is a good thing as well. That'll do it for us today here on Overtime. Next Wednesday, we'll update the last week of stuff. Maybe we'll have a guest or two. If you have a guest that you'd like to hear on Overtime, feel free to let me know. We'll try to get something put together. Make sure you follow me on my socials. On Facebook, Overtime with Lee Patterson. On Twitter, it is Radio Guy AZ99. We do tons of stuff that's not on the program in between the week that we do. In between the weeks of the show. So make sure you follow me there. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
Goodbye. Good night.
Signing off.
Come to bed now.
Okay.